Okay, so the other day, a guy called me a nigger, right? I had never been called a nigger before. And it was really shocking to me. I was totally caught off guard. But when he called me a nigger, I'll tell you how and how it all came about. Um, he had a certain feeling about me that, I wasn't talking to him or whatever was going through his mind. Um, it's probably not as important as how I reacted to him calling me a nigga. I had never been called a nigga before. When you get called a nigga, um, you have, I chose basically three options, right? I was shocked. I was caught off guard. I had known this person for a while, but it's like, dag, now I really see how you feel about me, right? And I really felt the way I felt. So it's like I felt disrespected. Uh, I felt disappointed. But I chose demolition. And when I say I chose demolition, I chose to demolish the idea. Demolition means to knock down and totally destroy something. It's the act of knocking down something and totally destroying it. And I don't mean to be, a little, but he called me a nigger. And I think that all black people need to show people who call us that we don't have to resort to probably what they want us to resort to when we're called that. So at the moment when he said it, I was like, like really caught off guard. Physical capability, I definitely could have caused him bodily harm. But I just chose not to. I chose to, like I said, demolish the idea that when I am verbally assaulted, and Quint's advice is that if any one of you are verbally assaulted, especially in that way, racial tension is still at a peak. It just like, I don't think it's ever really gonna, it goes like this, but it's always way up there. But you don't have to respond to it. And I think one of the best ways that we can turn this around, and especially if you're a child of God, one of the best ways we can turn this around to where, we make things better is how we respond to it. We got to knock down that idea that, when someone of another race or color calls us that we kill him, we beat him up, or I don't even want someone to be canceled. So when he called me that, I chose demolition. And when I say demolition, it wasn't physical demolition. It was intelligent, verbal demolition. And I handled it in a way that I asked him questions. Why would you say that? Was that nice? I brought the tone down. Soft answer turns away wrath, right? So he was wrathed and he was very upset. I had no idea that this guy felt this way about me. And it was a shock. And when something like that catches you off guard, you react in a manner, most of the time, the way they want you to react. But it's a very wise man. His name is Dr. Tony Evans. Dr. Tony Evans said something very wise. He said, God is not asking blacks to be white or whites to be black. He's asking both blacks and whites to be biblical. So I chose the biblical route. I actually chose at that moment demolition. I knocked down what I felt the enemy of all of our souls wanted to do in that situation. I think the enemy of our souls wanted me to physically harm that person. Besides me being more physically capable than most men my age, this man had an ailment, like a physical ailment. He wasn't drunk. He was not mentally ill. He had a physical, I'm not going to describe it, nor am I going to describe his race. I'm not going to do that because that's just, it's not important. So he had an ailment, a physical ailment. So I'm almost at, a great advantage to where, it was so tempting. But like I said, Meekness, guys, is not weakness. Meekness means that you have strength, but it's under control. And me controlling it, the result of me controlling my strength at that point was that intelligent spiritual strength came through. And as I began to talk to him about his insult towards me and why he did that, he started to cry. And like I said, it wasn't like alcohol makes men and women cry. He wasn't drunk. It was just the way I handled it with such love and compassion. You gotta feel compassion for a person that tries to insult you like that. When they attempt that, if the first thing you think about is violence, then most likely you're gonna either act on it physically or verbally. You're gonna give it right back. But there's no production in that. Yeah, we can scare other races into not saying it, but that doesn't transform the heart. What really transforms the heart is when we give them the very opposite, when we give them honey for vinegar. You know what I mean? What transforms the heart is when somebody verbally assaults you. I'm not saying physically assault you. If he physically assaulted me, then I would have had to protect myself, right? To the best of my ability. But what transforms the heart of man is when, in my situation, when this man verbally assaulted me, I chose to talk to him. Jesus was verbally assaulted, right? They say, oh, you don't have a father. You're a bastard, right? And Jesus took that and used that opportunity to exhibit self-control, to exhibit power over his, Jesus was the God man. So he is the God man. Like, I'm not even going to get into that. I don't want to start that. But he chose at that moment to dig into the situation and glorify his Father in heaven. And when we do that, when we say, you know what, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to believe God to transform this person's heart, because this person's got to be hurting. I'm secure in who I am. So no matter what you call me, I know who I am in God, right? I know who Jesus made me. And I said, hey, man, you know what? Jesus loves you, man. I gave him the exact opposite of what he thought that I was going to give him. Some people, you got to understand, the enemy wants you to hurt this person. This person may want you to hurt him for some reason. Some people are in such emotional pain that they would actually say something like that to a guy like me and just look to get physically harmed, because emotional pain, like say you really depressed or you're angry, maybe you were beat as a child, raped or whatever. Emotional pain is actually more painful than physical pain. So say I would have just physically demolished him instead of intelligently demolishing that spirit that was on him, right? What does that produce? There's no fruit in that, right? I wind up in jail or maybe dead. I can't say I can't beat everybody. Could have took out a knife while I'm, maybe on top of him, and then, got me in a spot to where, So I was amazed at when, God moves in your life and you're insulted like that, like totally caught off guard. Like I said, I saw this person just about every day. And to hear that come out of his mouth was a shock, but God came over me, because that's not like where I come from. That's like, we've called each other less than that and have like fought like furiously, like, you know what I'm saying? God just really took a hold of that situation, and it resulted in him like actually crying tears, because I gave him, once again, the response was like you giving a person, once again, honey for vinegar. I gave him the exact opposite of what he deserved. And that's what God does for us, right? Like, I had to think of how many times I've called God something that was insulting, or did something in God's sight that was insulting. and how God could have gave me what I deserve, right? So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to treat him like how God treats me. I've disappointed God, verbally assaulted God. Peter did it. Peter verbally assaulted Jesus, and God, right? Jesus was like looking for him after he was risen from the dead. So it's like I chose to like show compassion and love to this person, and the guy not only probably cried that night, but the next morning was calling me and texting me because he felt terrible. Now that wasn't my goal, but that's how God worked in his heart, in his life, and in the situation. And you know, I think that the benefit of that was that maybe I'm pretty sure he looks at me differently, more he has a godly perspective of me. But I think that the way I handle it may have brought him a better perspective of people that look like me, right? So it's like every time he may get that impulse again in the future, you know, none of us are perfect. So I think that maybe it was a great step towards changing the way he sees people that look like me, you know, because that really struck his heart. That really struck his soul. And like I said, there are a lot of things that manifest in your life when you get hurt. I mean, talking about in your emotions when you get hurt, that you could just like blast off, right? And like just do something like, you know, in 15 seconds and your whole life has changed. That person's whole life has changed. And I think that God has really done something. So my advice to any of you who have been verbally assaulted the way I have is to really, really choose demolition. You know, you can act on your feeling of disrespect. You can act on your feeling of feeling disappointed, angry, or disgraced. Or you can act on an impulse to demolish that person's not body, right? Not body, but you could act on your impulse to say, I'm going to spiritually demolish this demonic attack on my soul, on not just black people, but just a whole perspective on how some people see other people of other races. And God took a hold. You know, demolition, once again, it means to knock down and totally destroy. So I knocked it down. Like, it came at me and I was like, boom. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, and it was great. I feel great. I think that like I just feel lighter. Like I walked away after I spoke to him. And he was shocked. So I shocked him, he shocked me. And like I said, the next day it was like great because I spoke to him with love and compassion. So that's what happened, man. You know, so I would say, hey, you know what? Choose love, choose self-control. It's a choice that you have. You know, when somebody says something like that to you, whether you're in a relationship with that person or whatever, and I bet you'll have a better outcome. Quint's advice, love you like dark chocolate and red wine. See you later.